What's up, quarantiners? My name is John Fredrickson, and I'm a photographer based in Brooklyn, New York. I've been in quarantine for 8 days now, contemplating my existence and trying to figure out how to move forward with my business and creative pursuits. This video series has been my answer for how to stay sane and productive during this quarantine and economic shutdown. I'm making daily videos about my experience with life in isolation, and I will be interviewing other creatives to find out how they are finding new outlets for their creativity amidst this shutdown. My next guest is TJ Fink. TJ is an actor, model, and incredible mixologist, crafting classes, events, and experiences under the artisanal Alchemist brand. In this interview, we talk about our first experiences in coming to terms with the economic shutdown that has completely shuttered our businesses and lives, and then all the ways that we are trying to stay productive and motivated despite the new challenges ahead. You can find TJ on Instagram at TeejMachine, that's TeejMachine, or his mixology account, The Artisanal Alchemist. He will be doing a live mixology class this Thursday on Instagram, so make sure to subscribe to his account to stay updated on when that is going to happen. Without further ado, please welcome TJ Fink. Boom, TJ Fink.
I switched actually off of my Wi-Fi and onto just regular mobile network, so maybe that was the issue. Maybe my Wi-Fi is slow.
Could be.
How you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there. It's been an interesting week. The first week was a lot of shock, a lot of terror, because going from thinking like you have everything in control and you're, one step ahead of the game to all of a sudden everything disappears. All your work is gone and you don't know for how long. And so, figuring out the financial aspect of that was a challenge for the first few days, but starting to come through to the next stage of it where I'm realizing, we have this period of time in front of us where we just have to find a way to take advantage of it. And so that's what I'm trying to get a handle on. And I realized, we have everybody else is going through the same thing. So we gotta start connecting with each other, networking and figuring out, what is everybody doing? How are they getting through this? How are they staying productive? How are they staying creative? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. What's your experience been like over this past week?
Probably similar as yours, I suppose, because I've been spending a lot of time, during our last talk, we were talking about all the mixology shit that I was, putting a lot of time into and building over the last few years. And until further notice, that's not happening.
Right.
I mean, depending on who you are, it's some people I'm seeing are pivoting to having mixology classes online or, through Zoom, the way that we're doing. It's not quite the same.
Right.
I'm actually a colleague of mine and I are going to try our hand at that out of my kitchen on Thursday night, actually.
Awesome. So this is what I love to hear. So I just had a conversation with Aaron Weininger, who he's a comedian and an improv artist, and his improv community is now starting to do online live improv things. So I'm like, how are people taking advantage of the technology to say, fuck it, let's just do it, in ways that we never would have done before. So I want to hear about this. Thursday night, you're doing a live mixology class.
I think so. In fact, I honestly, I can speculate what's going to happen in this conversation, but I haven't actually talked to my colleague about this yet. What we're thinking is going to probably happen is that she'll create a post to advertise this live mixology Q&A sort of thing, and then I guess I would be an Instagram. I've never done Instagram Live, but I guess I would be an Instagram Live host, and then I would see the questions that people have posted over the week, and I answer them live from my kitchen. I guess I'll set up, off the top of my head, I'll set up a miniature bar in my kitchen in such a way, this is on a stand right now, my phone is, and so I can set up a bar in such a way so that I can kind of do a visual show and tell, for whatever bar related questions people here's how to make a drink, here's how to make a martini, here's how to, just kind of noodle on it, see how it goes. But
that's awesome.
So just a good creative outlet, really.
Yeah, no, and that's the key. We have to find ways to stay creative, because otherwise we're all just going to go crazy because we don't know how long this quarantine is going to last.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just and I was already halfway crazy, and you're it's we have life all figured out, everything's under control, and then no, I didn't have that to begin with, and now it's even.
Well, I think if there's one thing that's true about most creatives is that we're all kind of always hanging on by a thread, just trying to stay one step ahead because we're always trying to manage doing as much of our creative work as possible that we don't always get paid well for. And then also, making sure that we're doing work we need to do to get paid. So it's like, if you want to be successful as a creative, you have to toe that line of always being on the edge of financial ruin. And something like this coming along is like every creative out there is all of a sudden saying, damn, I kind of wish I had a 9-to-5 job that was paying me to stay home sick and I had a 401k in the bank and I had all this savings and everything. But it's like, that's not the reality for creatives. So how do we deal with this is the next big question. And, hopefully some of this stuff goes through Congress. These bills that they're talking about passing about sending people money, that would be a big help.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, okay, let's see here. So it took me about 5 days to equalize and sort of wrap my head around what was happening and what I needed to maybe start to do next when this was all starting to go down. I don't know, what's my calendar say here? I guess it started to all kind of hit the fan the second week of March, right?
Yeah.
The week of the 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so once all that was happening and everything was just ripped out from under us there for a little bit, I kind of went into a weird little depression where I just didn't feel like doing anything. I didn't feel like creating anything. I'm watching anytime I got on social networks or whatever, I'm watching people immediately start to pivot whatever they're doing to an online, Zoom room sort of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not quite how my whole life works. And also I was trying, I was in a period of artistic transition already.
Right.
And so it's now that I am out of that little funk and sort of down to the reality of what's happening right now and just trying to figure out how to best utilize my time. My biggest, it's actually occurred to me just in the last couple of days. I finally wrapped my head around how this is not this is a time of upheaval and it's a time of, we're stopping our business as we know it for the time being, but that's a time of opportunity.
Yeah.
It's I'm collecting unemployment because I have to, and I'm quarantined because I have to be, but that's a good time for, self-care,
yeah,
wellness.
Yeah.
I'm finally going to drag my ass to a YouTube yoga class if I can, maybe starting tomorrow.
Yes.
And there's so many free classes being offered. There's a lot of help that's being offered out there. There's a bartenders association grant that I applied for. Applying for unemployment. Hopefully that goes through.
What was that process like as an independent contractor? Because I've heard that we don't technically qualify. What was it like to apply for that? What do they ask for?
How do you mean we don't technically qualify?
That's just what I've been hearing. People are telling me that if you aren't a salaried W-2 worker, that you don't qualify. If you're a gig worker, an independent contractor, 1099, you don't qualify for unemployment.
And that might actually be the case, which is probably one of the and I'm grateful for the way that my hustle works, I suppose, because it's kind of a 50-50 balance between 1099s and W-2s.
Ah, gotcha.
And lately, honestly, I've been over the last couple of years, the balance has been moving more closer over to the W-2s than the 1099s. So I have enough paperwork to back up the fact that and the thing is, and all of those employers are staffing agencies, catering companies, freelance, it's all the sort of work that just immediately dried up. I've got an immediate paper trail that of 8 employers that are all themselves currently unemployed.
Right. Right.
So if you're 100% 1099 for everything that you do, I'm not quite sure that aid is available. But as a New York City hustler, doing a lot of different part-time work, I am on the books a part-time employee for a lot of different companies, and I have been, and I have been for those same companies for the last 5 years or more.
That's good.
A lot of them. And so it's if you're an artist who's working mostly under the table and then also 1099, that's a different situation. And there are resources out there. That's the one thing. I've been trying to find a balance of being on social networks and off, where it's I can stay informed and also be in touch with my nearest and dearest, but also not get sucked into what everybody else is doing and not allowing myself to unplug a little at home. It's now that everything's online, it's that's the only outlet that we all have to have any community.
right.
until, the short-term future. So I'm sure all of our eyesight is going to be fantastic by the time that we can all see each other eyeball to eyeball again. You know what? When this is all said and done, I'm going. If I have any extra money, I'm going to use it to invest in eye doctors. I bet their stocks are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, we'll see, right? I mean, we're all going into this virtual world anyway over the next decade with VR taking off the way it is. So it's like
I was gonna say it's very interesting. Like the entire world is affected by this, and every single industry of New York City is going to change after this.
Yeah.
And self-submissions, doing stuff online, like the way that you and I are communicating right now,
yeah,
is fairly new. Like it's only about 5 years old, the reliability of what you and I are doing. And so it's like the fact that we can do that, like Tara and I, we're building a voiceover studio in our walk-in closet.
Nice.
That's one thing that I'm great. Like, so we're pivoting some of our things and Venn diagramming it with some of the stuff we already do. Like I have a voiceover reel, and I've done a little bit of voiceover work over the last 5 years, but I haven't really pursued it a lot over the last 2 years. And now is the time where podcasts, like the Zoom room stuff like we're doing here, everything's virtual, and I think there's going to be a lot more demand for audiobook stuff.
Yeah.
And audio related advertising stuff. Like it's going to be, like special events in New York. That was my bread and butter
right.
until a weeks ago. And even if tomorrow, Cuomo said, "All right, everybody, good news. We just released a whole antitoxin into the air, and you're all cured." It would still take months for people to be not scared enough to start doing special events and doing trade shows and gather any gathering bigger than 15 people. Quite frankly, like already there's like a paranoia when you walk outside. Like a friend of mine who lives in our building, Lenny Thomas. I don't know if you know who he is. Actually, Lenny Thomas is his name. But he's a fellow actor, and he lives in our building. And just a couple of days ago, I haven't seen him in months. Honestly, he's been traveling and working, and our schedules don't really collide much. And he went in for the hug. Like when he saw me, I was wait. There's already a weird social thing. I was like, do we hug? Do we pound elbows? Do we just wave? Like I don't. But it's just like our socialization is going to change because of this. It's going to any business that can immediately move itself online and still do all its business when this is all over, they might find themselves saying, "Well, why do we need an office anymore?"
Yeah.
And so they, you know what I mean? So that might change. I don't know. The way advertising and marketing might change a bit.
Yeah.
I think we're all going to be a little bit more health conscious in major cities. After this, I think people are going to be, so that's a good thing. Pollution's down. This is the cleanest air I've ever breathed in New York, probably right now.
That's one of the things that I keep coming back to, and in conversations with people, when people are inevitably in dark times like this, you want to start trying to think about what are the silver linings. What's the light at the end of the tunnel, and the pollution factor. The health factor, I think, is going to be huge. It's going to totally. So in terms of the environmental movement, anybody who's pushed back against the environmental movement, pretty much the only argument that they've had to stand on is we don't really know how much of an impact humans are having. That was kind of like their only thing that they could kind of stand on. They were like, we know that.
Quantify that. Oh man, I never thought about that. Now we can immediately quantify oh yeah, remember that time when we all had to stay indoors as a planet for a week? It's,
and the same thing happened with the anti-vaccine movement. The anti-vaccine movement was always trying to say that vaccines and autism kind of rose at the same time. But there was a period of time in the Netherlands where they stopped doing vaccines for whatever reason, and the levels of autism didn't change at all. So it's those kinds of things when, people say that, well, we can't really test if this thing is true or not. Well, now all of a sudden we have the data. We can look at the rivers in Venice. We can look at the canals. We can look at the pollution charts over China. We can look at the number of fatalities from car accidents. How many car accident fatalities are we going to have over the next 2 months? It's going to be like none. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden we can look to these things and we can say, how do we need to change our society to hold on to these lasting benefits? And I think that people are going to all of a sudden prioritize these things in a different way and have a different perspective on it. I really feel like this is a forest fire that's going to rage through society and rage through our economy and clear out all the gunk and all the funk and all the things that were kind of holding us back and slowing us down. And when this picks up on the other side, I think that the room for growth for new ideas, for innovation is going to be huge. Now, the key for creatives like you and I and all the people in our community is that we have to keep using every day to stay healthy, to stay active, to hone our craft, so that as soon as things start to pick up again, we have to be ready to hit the ground running, to start connecting with clients, to start figuring out what are their new needs. Because I think you're absolutely right. The markets that were there before, that we made money on, that we kind of got used to, that we fell back on, that enabled us to stop having to worry about innovating to make money, you know what I mean? So we could focus on our other crafts, our other pursuits. Those could be completely gone overnight. So when it comes back to the new economy on the far side, we don't know what is in store for us. And the only thing we can do is to be ready for anything, to be ready for any direction that we realize the economy is going in, to start having conversations with our clients, the people we worked with in the past, and find out what are the challenges they're facing, what are the needs that they have, so that we can position ourselves to take advantage of that new economy. So I'm trying to be excited. It's difficult. The first week was really hard, you know, but this week, for me, it's been all about just saying, you know what, fuck it. We have to treat this as 2 months, probably, 6 weeks to 2 months of like, we don't know what's happening. And we just have to settle in and say, this is the new reality. What am I doing every day to continue to further my business, to further my career, and find ways to hold ourselves accountable. So these kinds of conversations are fantastic. I really look forward to following what you do with the artisanal alchemist online. That's going to be really fun to see Thursday. I look forward to that.
No, thank you, brother. Yeah, I throughout this whole conversation, I literally completely forgot that I'm doing that. It's it's very interesting how like our socialization is changing and how communities are changing, and that's the thing, like you say, like this is all going to kind of go through like a forest fire, clean out a whole bunch of shit, and I think that when we're on the other side, like it's going to be a great equalizer. Yeah. Number one, like I'm in an incredible community with Jen Waldman Studios, and that community, there's a Facebook group that you become a part of if you take just any class of theirs at all, and it's just an incredible community of like 1,500 awesome creators and artists and musicians and actors, and a lot of them are theater actors, and the theater industry is not going to be the same. Yeah. Like I never really thought about that perspective, if not for like my girlfriend, like Tara's a theater actor, and she's it's like that's all in limbo right now, and so like for all actors, everything's kind of in limbo. Like that industry is going to change in different ways, and everybody can adapt and evolve. But like, what are going to be the online? What are going to be the components of theater? Like, is there going to be a backup plan for if this happens again? Like, will producers pay the same sort of money for the same sort of productions? Is there going to be new outlets and for other smaller people? You know what I mean? Like the way that this in our society is going to pivot to how they want entertainment can change. The way that they use communication. So like, I'm a seasoned editor and writer and proofreader and copy editor and storyteller and bartender. So I'm pretty confident that I can do that. All of these things can be useful on the other side of this in different ways, and I'm not quite sure what they all are yet. I'm actually trying to figure that out. But part of that is me figuring out a structure every day. Like it's really hard for me to create my own structure. Yeah. Like that's one of the reasons it's nice to have clients in different agencies that you work with that are coming to you and creating a structure for you in a way. When my calendar's filled, there's my structure, that sort of thing. But now that I have to do that all myself with just whatever, things that I'm doing, and trying not to get caught up on the financial bit too, like the fact that I don't have any, like Tara and I, we don't have any kids. We don't even have a dog. It's like we can just take care of ourselves, focus on ourselves, and figure out what it is that we want to do, while also, like we're in literally the epicenter of the U.S. version of this pandemic. Yeah. So I keep trying to remind myself that help is going to come. For those of us who can qualify for unemployment, that's there for a reason, and that's at an all-time high. Hopefully, those funds come up. For the bartenders industry, I actually posted a link on my Facebook that liquor.com put together just like an entire list of resources for bartenders and different things, and and different news. Like I think Patron donated like $500,000 or $1 million to like bartenders in need. Like there are people, there's philanthropists stepping forward, there's organizations stepping forward, there's people that are, that care about this world that are stepping forward. And so it's actually nice to see the community that's becoming of this.
Yeah.
I was listening to Russell Brand on one of his latest Instagram rants. I love that guy. Oh man, he's the best. I can listen to him all day. I'd love to have coffee with that freaking guy. And maybe I can over Zoom.
Right.
Now that we live in the future.
Get on it.
It's like, who knows? And so it's just like, there's a lot of communities that are springing up spontaneously because of this. People are reaching out to their small tribes, and because we're all stuck in this together, it's like, for example, for actors, well, for a lot of actors, especially theater actors, like you can be waiting in line around the block for certain open calls or EPAs, I think they might be called. And like the system that's in place for how actors get seen and how theater actors get seen is a very tedious one. The hierarchy is very specific and complicated. And no matter what, across the board, for every actor, until further notice, there's no auditions or castings. It's all self-submission. So the barriers and the doorways and the gatekeepers, that's what I'm looking for. The gatekeepers just disappeared for certain things, which makes more opportunity for others. Yeah. So it's like, like you say, it's like if you hunker down and figure out that mindset. And the financial thing is a real thing. It's like, and that's something that I've been struggling with over the last week. Is that I've been, and I think that feeds into my little mini depression, was that I'm feeling very helpless under quarantine.
Yeah.
And I feel the most anxiety in my life when I don't have a backup plan for stuff, or if I like backing up my backups to a degree for certain things in my life, especially my finances in New York, and just like the idea of being just trapped here under quarantine with millions of other people on the same thing, it made me nervous, made me depressed, and made me feel creative, finally start to come out of that and start to see where we're all in this together, and we'll figure it out together.
And that's the key. So I went through the same experience, and what I realized was, at first you feel completely helpless. And normally when you face adversity, you're like, I'm going to go out there and pound pavement and make opportunities happen so that, I'm always ready to find the next opportunity so I can get through whatever challenge is in front of me. But being stuck here in your apartment with no way to go about finding another job, making money in any capacity, is just the most helpless feeling. So for me, the thing that was empowering was realizing A, that everyone else is in the same situation, and B, that there are active steps we can take. Because everybody's in the same situation, creditors and landlords and people like that aren't going to just start, kicking you off your accounts, kicking you out of your apartment, that kind of thing. So we at least know that we are in the same situation as everybody else around us. But two, what helped for me was reaching out to, I contacted all my credit card companies. I set all my payments to minimum payments. A lot of them are deferring interest payments. A lot of them are deferring late fees if you want to not pay your credit card bill for a period of time. Same thing with my cell phone. AT&T said I don't have to pay it till May 13th. I can wait until then to decide what my financial situation is, and they won't terminate my account before then. What was the other one? I haven't gotten in touch with my landlord yet from my photo studio, but I'm hoping to have a conversation with them about that. I've already paid multiple months ahead of time, so I know that I have some leeway there. So, at first, it's like I had nightmares. I was like not sleeping because you'd wake up in the middle of the night and you'd just be like, what am I going to do about this terrible situation? And then all of a sudden realizing that there's very real steps you can take in the short term. And then the government is actually taking huge steps to figure out how to keep people afloat. And the best thing that I've seen come out of this is that in the 2009 financial crisis, they bailed out the banks. You know what I mean? It's always been bail out the big companies, the big corporations, so that they can keep the economy afloat and everybody can stay at work. Well, this is the first crisis where they've realized they need to worry about the little guy. They need to worry about the people who can't go into jobs and can't make money right now. And so they have to take care of everyone. And it's just such a change of perspective that I think progressives have been fighting so hard to push for, this concept of a universal basic income. The idea that we need to all be at a certain income floor so that nobody can fall below the poverty line. All of a sudden you see the Trump administration advocating for that. It's the most bizarre situation to be in. So I'm excited for, things that are happening on the financial front. I would encourage other creatives out there who feel like it's not going to get better. I think that there are things that are happening that are going to enable us to get through this. And really, at the end of the day, we just have to focus on what are the things that we can control and find a way to not worry about the things we can't control. And even if we just do 2 weeks of that, and then worry about the next 2 weeks after that, at least we will be in a better position 2 weeks from now to handle whatever the next challenge is. So that's been where I've been at mentally, and that's kind of helped me to get to this week where I'm feeling a little bit more empowered to try to do something about all this. So I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. I look forward to.
Dude, totally. It's great to hear that you're doing okay yourself. It's we're having this. We're all going through the same stuff, man. I've had so many conversations, and I'm using my time over the last week to just make random phone calls, to friends and family, and a lot of them are phone calls that last a lot longer than I would expect them to because of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like we're all going through this same story. It's a great equalizer.
It is.
Is what this has become. It's because it's like no matter who you are, what you do, no matter how much money you make, apparently nobody's safe from the virus. Like anybody can get it. It's they're still figuring out information about it, but it's and there's other people there's more people dying every day from other pre-existing issues in this world.
But that's also that's one of the reasons
that's all happening in the background too. So
but that's one of the reasons why we have to take this virus so seriously is that even if there isn't a high death rate from the virus, if you have the hospitals overflowing with critically ill people from the virus, then the people who need those hospital beds for other reasons are just as screwed as the people who are getting the virus. You know what I mean? So it's like.
Yeah, that's why this all needs to be there needs to be quick action for all this stuff, because in New York City, specifically in any major metropolitan area, there's just a very quick ripple effect for any decisions that are made.
Yeah.
It's like my family in upstate New York right now, their lives aren't very well affected. There's there's only a handful of cases that have made their way to central New York.
Right. And it's easier to isolate.
It's easier to isolate yourself. They have a 160-acre bubble that they can see who pulls in the driveway and whether they want to answer the door, or whether they want to sick the dogs on them. So it's like a little. Whereas in New York, we're we may or may not be allowed to go to public parks in the near future, or there might be a curfew or mandate. And if that stuff doesn't happen, then we're not going to beat this thing. Yeah. So it's like to a degree, so there's where some of the powerlessness comes from, and you're reminding me of my Christian roots have something to do with some sort of Christian proverb or prayer that's just like, Lord, help me. Let me see here. It's like, help me to determine what I can things that I control, things that I can't, and the power to tell the difference. It's something like that. Yeah. And it's just like that's what you just remind me of it, because it's like there's so many things that aren't under our control right now, but there's a handful of things that are, and all things considered, I'm locked in my 800 square foot apartment with a walk-in closet that I'm about to convert into a voiceover studio with my girlfriend who has similar artistic endeavors, so we're trying not to kill each other or drive each other insane.
How's that been going?
By a thread.
I'm gonna have to get Tara on here. And get her perspective.
Oh, I'm sorry. She's busy and not in the bathtub, motionless for whatever reason. We're actually, our communication stuff was a big issue, honestly, at the beginning of this, because it's like we're just trapped around each other all the time with our own stuff that we need to do, and I wasn't good with structure anyways. But speaking of that class that I did before, that Jen Waldman's class, I might have been in the middle of that when I did that podcast with you. But it was called Shift, and it was all about shifting your mindsets, your structures of how you run your life and how you do things, in your home. And I couldn't have taken that class at a better time. Like a month later, the whole world fell apart, and I've got a lot of shit. I've got a lot of shit that I've been needing to work on in my own inner demons. I've got a whole bunch of inner demons that need to be worked on, and now I'm trapped with them. And my girlfriend is too. Yeah. So yeah. So it's this is time for self-care and self-work, and it's like any project, for people that are trapped in their quarantine with their families. They can spend more time with their families. For people that are artists like ourselves, now's the time to kind of get our shit together. Once you figure out the bill, like you say, there's help to be had. You can work with your landlord, you work with your credit card companies. Once you've wrapped your head around all that, and you can start to kind of figure out a short-term plan, then we can start to see just like what's going to happen when it all. But it's all changing every week, so it's we can't predict everything.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But we just have to do the things we can do every day to stay healthy and stay positive and stay creative. So that's what I'm working on. I started this little YouTube series just for that. I'm calling it Creators Unite. I like to have that's big awesome. Lofty names.
I was gonna say, where's this gonna end up?
So I'm putting this on Facebook and YouTube, and also on the blog creatorsunite.org. I'll send you a link when it goes up. So I've been making videos every day just about what my experience with quarantine has been like, how I'm trying to tackle these problems that I know that every creative out there is dealing with at the same time. So I see it as an opportunity, let's connect and let's continue to, help each other and lift each other up even from a distance and use the technology that we have today to do that. So I really appreciate you taking the time today. Let's stay in touch. Let me know, shoot me a link or a reminder for Thursday. You said 7 o'clock. What time is that?
I think it's going to, my friend was saying aiming for 8 o'clock, but we haven't figured out any other logistics yet. So yeah, I'll shoot you a link, whatever that's up. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, whatever it is. But it's just like, more community, more creativity. We'll all get there, baby.
That's the name of the game. Thank you, TJ. Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I'm posting daily videos about the challenges of independent artists and creators in the midst of this economic shutdown and quarantine. I would love to hear what your experience has been with the quarantine so far and what creative ways you are finding to stay productive and motivated despite the challenges. Please take a minute to leave me a comment or send me a message on any of my social media channels below. Stay safe, stay sane, stay productive, and be well.